Hey guys, Buncat7 here. Okay, it is Friday, September 6, 2019, and I want to thank you for visiting the Stonewall Research Channel here on YouTube. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. All right, well, we're going to take a look at the I Ching. I'm not going to beat around the bush too much. There's a lot of stuff to discuss about the I Ching, and I want to get into it. Take a look at it yourself if you'd like. It's a very interesting book. It's one of the oldest books, and it's called The Book of Changes, which is very interesting in itself. Okay, and this relationship with DNA, this is really where the focus is, because I was talking about and begging the question in my other videos about corn and the genetic disc, what ancient man possibly could have known in the past about biology, genetics, genetic engineering, genetically modifying things, whatever it is. I mean, if that was true, that would explain a lot of things, but let's not go that far. Let's take a look at this. I just want to get right to the point with this. And it's, again, the I Ching is one of the oldest books in the world. It's a book of divination. You have these 64 hexagrams, which just so happens to correspond with the genetic code. Okay, and you have a lot of scholarship on this stuff because it's just so interesting. Originally, Leibniz was the guy, Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, that discovered that there was this binary code in the I Ching, which makes it, mathematically very consistent with the codons of the genetic code in the strand of DNA, the 64 DNA codons of the genetic code. There just so happens to be 64 hexagrams, and these hexagrams represent the genetic code almost exactly. So, in many different ways, because you have the three different, compounds in there: arginine, histidine, tyrosine, and cysteine, and they just correspond to the hexagram so uniquely and perfectly. So here's a scholarly article from a government website, U.S. National Library of Medicine and National Institute of Health, where this guy ran this supercomputer experiment using the I Ching. Okay, so you need a PhD just to understand the title of this article here. Okay, defrag binary I Ching genetic code chromosomes compared to Nuremberg's, which was the guy who discovered the what the genetic, broke the genetic code in 1965, this Nuremberg guy, and won the Pulitzer Prize in 1968 for science and biomedicine or whatever it was, okay? And transformed into rotating 2D circles and squares and into a 3D 100% symmetrical tetrahedron coupled to a functional one to discern start from non-start methionines through a stellar octangula, okay? So you have these this geometry to all this stuff, okay? When you have these chemical compounds and math and all this kind of stuff, you have this geometry to it that they often refer to. And look at it, just interesting that it's a tetrahedron. Okay, so let's go down to the end of the article here, because he says some interesting things. We're going to take a look at this depiction of the of FuXi and his wife there, and what it looks like, and what they're sort of burying or leaving out, or sort of minimizing, or whatever it is. Okay. But it's interesting what this fellow, who obviously has like 180 IQ, says at the end of this article in the conclusions here. So it's just so interesting to me. And it's an argument for intelligent design. And just remember, this intelligent design just means intelligent design. It doesn't necessarily mean a god or anything like that. It could have been a very advanced scientist or, methods of science or whatever it is used in the past at a time where advanced technology is so different from our own that it would seem alien. This is why the whole alien thing people like better, because it just fits so nicely in there or whatever. But I'm telling you that it fits nicer when you think about it's all homegrown. Okay. This article also demonstrates that the basic principles of an intelligent design present in the genetic code can easily be expanded not only to bioengineering but also to a novel bioarchitecture. So he came up with some novel combinations by defragging the whole I Ching and genetic code comparison there, and came up with these, novel nucleotides and all this kind of stuff that are just in his opinion, phenomenal. Okay, so he says here maybe an alternative representation of the genetic code is still hidden and undiscovered in some corner of the remote Chinese, Hindu, Moche, Inca, Maya, etc., just waiting to be discovered. Okay, so it's interesting that he says that about the Inca and Maya. Okay, just waiting to be discovered. Okay, so interesting he says that here. Okay. For example, in relation to the ancient finding described here as hidden within binary paired and rotationally restored representations of the genetic code, a similar double swastika was found on a replicating stamp seal from about 2800 BC. Okay, earlier in the article, he put forth this whole thing about how the swastika is some representation of the genetic code in a geometric form, in a symbolic form that can be formed through, the formations of horizontal and vertical combinations of these things, okay, in the whole code, the I Ching code and the DNA code. So that's what he's saying here, all right? About the swastika, matching the approximate date given for the origin of the I Ching. After that time, the swastika of fertility did spread all over the world. From Troy, where two different female characters were found by H. Schleiman, having both a right-handed or clockwise motion swastika stamped on their reproductive organs and or belly, respectively, to Peru, where it was the opposite, a left-handed or counterclockwise swastika found stamped at approximately the height of the breast. To see a collage with these three last images, go to whatever. Okay, I'm going to show you the main thing here, which is FuXi and his wife, which is really very interesting, and other related stuff on that in that depiction. And while the archaeological evidence for the previous paragraph is very scant, not so for the one related to the I Ching and its presumed discoverers, FuXi and NuWa, frequently shown intertwined in their double helix-like lower bodies, being them like two strands, something found by the hundreds or more in China and related nations. Okay, so that's what this is, okay, right here, okay, and you can see this representation here, okay. Here's the DNA molecule, so we're all familiar with, right? So here's FuXi and his wife, NuWa, okay? And it's just very interesting to me here, like this depiction, for instance, here, has the sort of thunderbolts symbology up here, where you see this depiction here of symbols of an alien sky. You have the sort of the twins and the intertwined of the double helix here, down here as well. That makes me think of Velikovsky, Thunderbolts Project, Electric Universe, Walt Thornhill, and David Talbot. And you can see that representation here in their logo right here is that representation right there. So this is common with this symbology here, and here it is from the Wikipedia article here, and you can see it here again too. Down here it seems to the center with Mars and Venus behind it with Saturn in the background is missing there, but they're sort of downplaying FuXi as being anything special here in this article in Wikipedia on the I Ching here. Okay, so I talk a little bit about it, but you see FuXi is just, just nobody here. So just look at this representation of it, and, you have to raise an eyebrow here when you see it. And again, symbols of an alien sky, electric universe stuff in there. This great catastrophe in the past where this knowledge of the DNA molecule was passed on in the binary code in the I Ching, guys. Okay, so I just want you to think about that. All right, guys. All right, I hope you got it. All right, Bugcat7 signing out. Peace.